Now, many European businesses have been hoping to increase ties with a global economic powerhouse, China. But in some EU countries, this initiative has actually caused a rift between various senior officials. Now, the EU's largest economy, Germany, appears torn about Chinese investments into the major northern port of Hamburg. Senior officials have stonewalled a plan backed by Chancellor Scholz for Chinese shipping company COSCO to acquire partial ownership of the transport hub. The dissenting voices say that such a move would increase the country's dependence on Beijing. Now, the acquisition would be a part of Beijing's Belt and Road initiative to link Chinese factories with Western markets in a colossal modern-day version of the Silk Road.
You'd think that a big lesson for the European Union would have been to not have blindly followed Washington's strategy of going nuts and applying sanctions to everything Russian when Europe's economy has long benefited from Russian exports in order to compete with the US. But no, apparently the lesson that the EU picked up instead was that it shouldn't have forged those trade ties with Russia in the first place, which would have left it far more reliant on the US for resources rather than on the Russian gas that helped build Germany in particular into an economic and industrial powerhouse. But now Europe seems to be doubling down on its self-isolation hermit strategy and looking to reduce trade with Washington's other foe, China. Have a listen.
I think that our failed European policy on Russia is making many of us in the room to rethink about our approach to China. Fool me once, that's on me. Fool me twice, that's the other way. Countries should not take an authoritarian power for granted.
The task of a responsible economy, and even more so of politics, is not to allow us to get back into a situation where in a few years' time we have to save the chemical and auto companies with billions in taxes because they have made themselves dependent on the Chinese market, for better or worse.
Okay, so the EU has already cut itself off from cheap Russian energy without a viable backup plan, and now pretty much wants to dive headfirst into cutting itself off of its largest trading partner. So what's the backup plan there? To make everything in the EU? Okay, sure, why not? But then how are you going to do that without a reliable supply of cheap energy geniuses? French President Emmanuel Macron is already flipping out over American gas now being sold to Europe at what he says is 2 to 4 times the price that it's sold on the domestic American market. But companies like Volkswagen, BMW, Mercedes, and chemicals manufacturer BASF have all announced new Chinese ventures in the last month alone. So what are they supposed to do with this new anti-China posture? And when German Chancellor Olaf Scholz visits China next month, Volkswagen's CEO is expected to travel with him in the interest of securing the company's position in the world's largest car market.
The Volkswagen Group is strengthening its development competence in China for China to accelerate the pace of innovation, promote technological localization, and further strengthen its customer focus in this important market. The goal is to drive forward the integration of numerous functions on one chip, increasing the stability of the system, saving costs, and reducing energy consumption.
The reducing energy consumption part sounds like it'll really come in handy since the EU's new strategy is apparently to not use energy at all because it's so expensive now thanks to their own self-sanctioning. As always, what we're seeing here is a giant disconnect between pragmatic, on-the-ground reality that benefits the economy, the industry, the people, and European political ideology.